And we do ask if there are any candidates other candidates who are not being interviewed, if you would please leave the room while other people are being interviewed. You don't have to, obviously, but we would request that you do that, and we will in turn do the same for you. And so our first candidate this evening is Rebecca Aitchison. Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to give an opening statement?
I would. Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening, Chairwoman Tedeschi, Commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and interview. It's really great to be back. It's really wonderful to be back in person as well. On my application, as you probably saw, I wrote a bit about my mom, who's one of 12. She was born in Brazil to my grandmother. And my grandmother was one of my absolute favorite people. She never learned how to read or write. She didn't know how to drive. But she, to this day, is still the toughest woman I've ever met. She had 12 kids, none of them in a hospital. And despite her lack of formal education, she raised them all to be very self-sufficient, hardworking, strong individuals. So strong that my mom, in fact, came here actually about the age that I am now, knowing only my father, no English, and really no idea about the New England winters that she was going to be encountering in her future. But she stayed, and she stayed throughout the loneliness, the hard times, the judgment that she faced, and she did that for us, really. And it's really hard for me to put into words how much that sacrifice has meant to me. And it's something that I struggle with daily, this privilege that I've had being born here. And so that's the main reason why I've dedicated my life to public service. And that's why I'm here, because this position, in my opinion, is the ultimate public service. In my humble opinion, district court is probably the most important court in the state. And I say that having practiced in district court, but also having practiced in superior court and multiple federal courts in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and even some time in Oklahoma. And it's not the most important because of the subject matter, but because of the people. And most of the people who access justice in the state do so through the district court. And that's whether it's criminal cases or landlord-tenant disputes or small claims court. Those are where the people are. It's really a court for the people. And it's really important, in my opinion, that those members of the public, when they walk through those courtroom doors, those courthouse doors, that they have faith in the administration of justice, that they feel seen, that they feel heard, and even though it's the busiest court, most likely, that they walk away knowing that every person matters and every case matters. I know that you all have some really exceptional candidates tonight, but I believe that I'm uniquely qualified for this position. A district court judge, to put it bluntly, changes the course of people's lives. They do that in a lot of ways, but they do it by their decisions, by the way they treat people, and by the way they listen to people. And I've been a public defender now for almost 14 years, and I've seen this impact firsthand. And that's given me a lot of insight into where people come from and how to learn how to appreciate and understand difference and work with people from different backgrounds. And that comes from my experience as a public defender. It also comes from my experience as a Latina. And what I've learned is that you have to meet people where they are and not where you want them to be. And my experiences, I think, have also trained me to do what judges oftentimes have to do, and that's tell people hard things, tell people things they may not want to hear. And I can tell you that's pretty much an everyday occurrence in the life of a federal public defender. But this position, I think, really requires a unique set of skills. I think you want the courtroom and litigation experience so that you can handle the demanding and relentless nature of the docket. But you also need the toughness and the integrity to do the right thing, no matter what anyone else thinks. And you also need someone who understands people, because when you're making these really tough decisions, you have to understand the ramifications of those decisions. There hasn't been a day in my life that I haven't reminded myself where I've come from and the sacrifices that it's taken to get me where I am, the toughness that I had to build as a young public defender, always making sure I was the most prepared person in the room. And if you select me, I promise you that that is what I would bring to this position. not just competence, but poise and empathy, patience. And I would never forget where I come from, my privilege. I would always meet people where they are, look them in the eye, and make sure that they know that they matter. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak before you all. Happy to answer any questions you have. I'm relieved to see that I beat the clock.
That's good. Good job. As you probably know, and certainly the other commissioners do, I do not typically ask questions, but I received a number of emails today requesting that I ask a question of all the candidates this evening, so I am going to do that and kick things off before I ask the other commissioners if they have questions. And that question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Yes, I do. I think that there's a lot that can be said on the subject, but yes, I do personally. I also, as an attorney, believe that that is codified under the law as it stands. But yes, personally, I do as well.
Thank you. Christian?
Hey Becky, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is, I think, the third time I've gotten,
Yes.
at least for me, I think some of the other members, and I was just looking back at my notes from those times. I want to say you had great speakers. Previously, Judge Rogers, Judge Marcassini, Judge Smith most recently, and Magistrate Lopez, all who I know and that have appeared before or worked with previously. You just mentioned you've been practicing for about 13, close to 14 years now.
Yes.
7 years public defender at the state level, and close to 6.5, almost 7, I think, at the federal public defender level.
Yes.
What skill sets, it's almost equal time now,
Yes.
have you developed from your time? Because it's obviously different courts, different type, same impactful cases, but you talk about the district court being a very impactful court and can affect which direction people's lives go.
Yep.
What skills have you developed as a federal public defender that you didn't have as a state public defender that you've developed and grown that you'll take to the bench with you?
So I think it's a great question. One of the biggest, I think, I see it as a benefit, but one of the biggest benefits of transitioning to the federal system is I get more time. And, when I was in district court, I'd walk in and I would have, 40, 50 cases on in a day. And it was, I think it was Judge Smith, maybe, or one of the other speakers likened it to almost like an emergency room, right? It's practiced by triage. Mm-hmm. But in federal court, the cases take longer. They're way more in depth, and we get to spend more time on that. So I think what it's done is, from an attorney standpoint, it's made me, I think, a much stronger advocate. The cases are very difficult, so it's forced me to become, I think, more creative in the ways that I advocate for my clients. One of the things I think that would be a benefit as a district court judge is because I've been in that place where things have been slowed down and I've seen the value in that. If I were to be thrust back into the district court, I wouldn't revert back to this idea of, speed above all else, right? Efficiency is important, obviously, but being thoughtful, even if it means that you're there every day until 4:30, right? But making sure that you give everyone the opportunity, and that is something that I've seen the difference in my own clients between the two systems, and people walking away, not always with the result they want, but when people take that time, it makes such a difference in their perception of, how they were treated, their perception of the system, and how justice works. So I think having that difference is a real value.
Thank you.
Tom?
I don't have any questions, but super overview.
Thank you.
Really,
I appreciate it.
really answer that.
I appreciate it.
Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you as well.
Karen, we can't see you. I'm not sure if we'll be able to hear you, but do you have any questions? Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Crystal. I am Karen Glynn, and I'm a commissioner, and I'm joining you by Teams this evening. At this time, I have no questions. Thank you.
Jim?
No questions. All the best, Rebecca.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Lamont?
No question at this time.
Gina? Welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
And I don't have any questions either. I just want to state, because I don't recall if I've said it in the past, that I think that it's, I don't want to say not common, but criminal defense attorneys are not always the majority that applies here. So clearly, that is a different perspective that I think is excellent. And your personal background, I think makes you, and how you've embraced that, it makes you an excellent candidate for the People's Court, as everyone has called it, because it is very clear that you are very close to your immigrant experience. And not that it can't be understood otherwise, but you clearly understand it. So I think that that's a wonderful asset to the court, and specifically the district court. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Jason?
It's such a pleasure to see you again this evening. Thank you for applying. I don't have any questions, and good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to be like John. I'm going to actually sit behind the table.
It's good, mix it up a little. Welcome, our next interviewee this evening is Maria Deeden. Would you like to give an opening statement?
Sure.
I'm going to
First,
start my timer, I'm sorry.
sure, no problem. First, I just want to extend good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I first want to just extend my gratitude and appreciation for you picking me to interview with you. I know I've been here before. You know me pretty well, but I want you to know that I don't take that for granted. I know that you get a lot of applicants, and it really is an honor to be chosen by you, and I appreciate every time you let me come in here and make my case for you. I'm just going to make a quick statement as to why I think I'd be great on the district court, and why I decided to apply for this position. And every time I apply for these positions, it takes me back to 30 years ago. And it's a memory that I think subconsciously I just keep behind there. It's my first day of law school. Well, not my first day of law school, my first day of contracts. And I had this law professor, Professor Finneran, and she was my contracts professor. And the first day in class, she told the class, I don't care what kind of law you want to practice. If you want what you aspire to be in the law, a judge, an attorney, criminal attorney, prosecutor, corporate attorney, in order to be good at your job, I'm advising you to do one thing, and that is read Les Miserables. Now, I'm a theater person, so I've seen the musical, I know the story behind it, and I was thinking as I was sitting there, like, I really didn't know much in life, you know, I'm like, why would she say that? She's a contracts professor. She doesn't know, you know, like, how does that apply? I knew the story. I knew the premise behind it. And as I went through my life and my career as a lawyer, I realized I knew exactly what she meant. I started off as you know, as a solo practitioner. I hung up my shingle. Then I went to the DA's office in Massachusetts, then eventually the Rhode Island Attorney General's office, and then private practice as a criminal defense attorney. And each time, that thought has guided me and given me the ability to be successful, not only for my clients, but for victims of crimes, for the state, for witnesses that came before me. Because the most important thing, and why I think I'd be great for district court, is I have the legal experience. I have the litigation experience. I've got that down packed. I don't think anyone can argue otherwise. On paper, I'm a perfect candidate. But it's not only my diversity of experience, it's my diversity of my background and my life that I've lived. I've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, luckily more ups than downs, but all those things have helped me, and it helped me immensely, especially in my work in the probate court, because everyone that comes into court, whether you're as a defendant, as a plaintiff, as a witness, or as a victim, they have a story. They need to be heard. And a judge, even though you take an oath to apply the law to a set of facts that are before you, judges have a lot of discretion, right? And there are nuances in the law. And you have to have the ability to justly apply that discretion. And knowing the people before you and understanding that law cannot be applied rigidly, that you have to use your own life experiences and in order to give a just result to the people that are before you. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of why I want to do this. I think that I can help elevate the district court to a level where the public is going to have confidence in the court again. And I look forward to when you give me that opportunity and send my name to the governor, and the governor picks me, that one day in the future, they can say, thank you, Maria Deaton, for helping us have a judicial legacy that we could be proud of. So,
Thank you. So as you know, because we've seen you a few times before, I usually do not ask questions, but I have been asked by a number of members of the public today to ask a specific question of all candidates, which I'm going to do. And so that question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
that's a simple answer. Yes, I do. I have 2 daughters, as most of you know. They're adult daughters. I would never, and as a woman myself, any human being, I would never dictate how others, the health choices other people make. And I believe that everyone has a right to life, liberty, and happiness, and enjoy their lives and live how they feel that they should live, if it's not hurting anyone else. So absolutely.
Thank you. Tom?
Great answer. One question in 3 seconds before you answer.
Okay.
Where do you find yourself as a benefit? District or Superior?
Both. And I know that's a cop-out, and I'm not meaning it to be a cop-out. I think I'm uniquely qualified for both. There are some people that may be qualified for district but not superior. I can go in both and handle the caseload and do what has to be done. What makes me mostly uniquely qualified for district court, in addition to, obviously you have to have the legal background. And a lot of people think district court is not that important, but so many important things happen in district court, so many. Whether it's on the civil end, a monetary judgment against someone, or landlord-tenant eviction. Most of the cases that come through district court are criminal cases. The judges in district court decide whether you should be held without bail or not if you have a capital offense. And I'm going to give you an example of why I think somebody like me would be great for district court. I recently had a case that, by the way, I won. It was a judgment of acquittal, and it was the last case before Justice Procaccini, before he left. It literally, I think it came down with his decision maybe 3 days before his last day. But this individual was a court-appointed case, and it came to me during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. So this individual had been charged in October 2019 with a capital offense. He went before the district court, had a bail hearing. He was initially represented by the public defender's office, had a bail hearing, and that judge, in my opinion, didn't, because I read the transcript, held him without bail when that judge shouldn't have held him without bail. He was held for 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Because COVID happened, and he kind of got forgotten. I'm not laying blame on the public defender's office, but once things started to reopen again, they realized that they had a conflict, and the judge asked me to take on that case. As I took on the case and read through the grand jury transcripts and all the information that was before me, the discovery, I realized, hey, he shouldn't be held on these set of facts. I petitioned for bail. Bail was set a number of times because he couldn't make the initial bail because he had been held for so long. And it was one of those cases where it should have never been brought the way it was brought. And like I said, when we tried the case, I went jury waived. And at the end of the state's case, I moved for what's called a McComb motion. It's like a judgment of acquittal for a judge. And the judge came back very quickly and granted my motion, and my client was free of this case that he was acquitted of, but somehow did 3.5 years held. And that's why it's important to have people in the district court who can recognize, and when I'm talking about those nuances in the law and the experience, that's something only experience can give you when you're used to dealing with those type of cases, and you understand what's provable and what's not, and how they're going to be able to achieve the end game with those cases. So I hope that answers your question.
Great.
Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Hello, Maria.
Hi.
I'm Karen, a member of the commissioner, and I'm joining you by Teams. I've spoken to you before, and I don't have any questions at this time, but thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Maria, you know I've been a fan of yours for a long time.
Oh, thank you.
And I love when you come in, and I love when John comes in. John is very entertaining.
Yes.
And I would have loved to see, when you were married to him, the dynamics of a discussion between you two and how that would have
I'm sure
worked
you
out.
would.
I'm sure you held your own. So I have no questions, but I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Steve, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
evening. Excuse me. Good evening. Just want to wish you good luck.
Thank you so much.
I love your opening statement. At this time, I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, thank you, and it's great to meet you.
Gina?
Hi, nice to see you
You
again.
too.
I don't have a question. I'm just going to keep doing this to people who've been before us. I'm a supporter.
Thank you.
I think that you summed up wonderfully why you'd be great on district court. On paper, you are absolutely overqualified, but your life story and your experiences, your housing court judgeship, your probate court, your guardianship of your sister, your experience with mental health, all of that is incredibly important to what you will face at district court. So I think you bring a wealth of experience in every way, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jason?
So nice to see you again.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for applying. I don't have any questions, but you're just a great asset to the bar and to the city.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice
I
to
do
see
want to
you.
say before you leave that I loved your other speaker. John was great, but your speaker.
Mr. Lohman, I was going to say, he was
Oh,
at.
I'm sorry. I totally forgot about you.
I was going to say.
That's why I'm going to question.
That's
I
okay.
stole your thunder.
That's okay.
I forgot about you.
Maria and I worked together for 6 years
Yeah.
at AG, so I know her body of work very well. You've been before 6 times, Maria, and I know you're in the court, and I echo all of the other commission members' sentiments about you. I would say John is a hard act to follow. We've seen John twice.
Yes.
But Mr. Lohman, I thought that was it was very, I have a note here, it was just very impressive of the impact that you had on his life,
Yeah.
which changed so many other things. And that's, I agree with you, that the district court is where you can have that impact on people's life. So it was very nice to hear him say
And his
that,
matters were all in district courts throughout Massachusetts and Rhode
which
Island.
is
but,
cross-jurisdictional
yeah.
as well. So I thought that was very, very important.
And if I could just say something about Maurice, because when I was like, oh my goodness, I've been before the JNC so many times. I'm like, I don't have that many friends. I'm recycling people. So I was talking to Jeff Padua, who rents office space in our office, and he's the one that referred Maurice to me. He's like, why don't you have Maurice speak for you? And I said, sure. I'm like, actually, that's a great idea. So I called him up, and without hesitation, he said, sure, go ahead. And as I was sitting here that day, that was the only time I talked to him, and a couple months went by, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I probably should have given him a little bit more guidance. I don't know what he's gonna say. I haven't seen him in like 8 years since I, did that work for him. I was so impressed by him, and I after that evening, I checked him out on social media, and he runs marathons. He's focused on his sobriety in that way, and that's his thing, the marathon running, and I'm so proud of that. And
I know like sometimes people in my office will get at me because I'm the worst business person. I feel bad for people, so I'm like, don't worry. And he's 100% right. I knew he couldn't pay me, but I'm like, I feel so bad for this guy. He's doing great things. Like, I'm always a softie when it comes to my clients. Not so much my kids, because in the household, I was the rigid one. I was the mean one, and John was the softie. I know you probably don't believe that, but it's true. Those girls knew how to work him. But I'm so proud of Maurice, and I'm so grateful that he was able to come here and speak to you all. And I thought he did a wonderful job.
He did.
No notes,
Very
and like he was a pro.
And
So
can I just say, now that you reminded me, I don't have my notes, but I remember very clearly, if you didn't use these exact words, it was this sentiment that you believed in him before he believed in himself.
mhm.
And I think that is, we don't understand the impact we can have on people. And that is even more important as a judge.
Yeah.
So I think it tells a lot about who you are, but it also shows that the impact you could have on recognizing and giving people a chance.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree 100%. Thank you so much, everyone. It was nice to see you.
Thank you.
Good evening. How are you?
Thank you. Our next interviewee this evening is Anthony DBA's Jr. Would you like to give an opening statement?
Brief. Madam Chairman, members of the board, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Anthony DBA's. I know you have a difficult task ahead of you tonight. I see a list of some very qualified candidates, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing me to proceed to this point in this process. I've been an attorney in Rhode Island practicing for the last 35 years. With the exception of 3 of those years, I've been a sole practitioner with the general practice. I have practiced in every court in Rhode Island except for federal court and the Supreme Court, 2 courts I haven't been in. But my practice has allowed me to handle numerous cases in all of the other courts in Rhode Island. Probably within the last 8 or so years, I've kind of limited my practice, the litigation portion of it, to the district court, where I continue to practice there. I handle some other areas of the law, but my practice at that point has been limited to district court mainly. So I know you don't want to hear me ramble on. You have a long night tonight, so I'm sure you would rather ask me some direct questions, and I'd be happy to answer those to the best of my ability.
Thank you. So I do not typically ask questions, but I have been asked by a number of members of the public to ask a question of all candidates. So my question for you before I ask the other commissioners if they have questions is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Well, my practice don't really get politically involved. I think it's individuals' rights to do what they want to do. I know that, the hot topic back and forth about abortion and all the other gender and whatnot. People are free to do what they want to do. It's America. They're free to do what they want to do. That's what this country's founded on. Basically, it's freedom for everyone. So, I have a wide client base that's very diverse, different races, religions, genders. I treat them all the same, fair and impartial to all of them, give them good representation at a fair price, and I've built up a pretty good practice by doing that. So I don't discriminate against anybody in particular, and like I said, everybody's free to do what it is that they feel they need to do.
Thank you. Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening. I'm Karen Glenn, and I am a commissioner. And I'm joining you tonight on Teams.
Hi, Karen.
Hi again. Thank you for applying, but I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Anthony, I've watched your career develop, and I have to say, I think you'd be perfect for the district court.
Thank you.
You have all the qualities necessary to be a district court judge. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Well, no.
Good evening, sir. How
Good
you doing
evening.
today?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, caffeinated, ready to go. So this is my first time meeting you.
So this is my first time here.
Absolutely. I'm sure we probably bumped past us 7 stars at one point or another, as every Rhode Islander does. You mentioned that you treated each client with respect and dignity, and you have a reliance on the client. I do have one question for you. I'm just like, and maybe this is a mini discussion, very brief. What are your, in the upcoming months or years, we may have a discussion regarding marriage and interracial marriage here in the state and also nationwide. So can you tell me your thoughts on the ruling of Love versus Virginia?
I'm not familiar with that ruling with regard to interracial marriage and what that stands for. I'd have to read that case and I could then have a conversation with you about it. But I haven't read that case.
Okay, in its basic form, it states that that interracial marriage is legal. So with that being said, do you oppose interracial marriage?
I do not. I have clients that, interracial relationships. I don't oppose it at all. Like I said earlier, the United States is a country of freedom. I think people are free to do what it is that, they within the law, do what it is that they're free to do.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Gina?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Your experience and your resume is excellent. Because it's gone this way, I'm going to ask this question. Is it the role of a judge to uphold the law and interpret it regardless of personal opinion?
Yes.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jason?
Nice to see you.
You too. Thanks.
You've seen all the district court judges for many years now.
Yeah, I've seen some come and go, and some that are still there.
So my question is, what's a character trait that would inform your judicial temperament if you ended up on the bench?
Well, I think there's a number of things, and I've seen different judges handle the courtrooms differently, and some have different styles, the way they handle the courtroom. I think it's a combination of things. You really need to, especially in the district court. District court's a little unique, especially on the civil side. There's a lot of pro se litigants. And as lawyers, sometimes we don't realize that a client comes into us and they have an issue and it's very serious to them, but as lawyers, because we've seen a lot of different things, we don't feel that it's that serious. So you have to put yourself in their shoes and realize that anytime someone's coming in to see a lawyer, and especially going into a courtroom and standing in front of a judge, it's a life-changing event for that person. So you have to read people, understand people. You have to have a calming effect on people because there are different people with different temperaments. They get excited, they get nervous. So you have to kind of act and calm them. You have to keep control of the courtroom, but do it with the correct demeanor. In the district court, I find sitting watching different cases or some of my own cases, because I do a lot of civil work in the district court, and I have a lot of litigants that are non-represented. So you have to treat them with respect. You have to be fair and impartial to them as representing themselves when dealing with them, and understand where they're coming from. So you have to have that demeanor to be able to keep everyone calm. They want to tell their story. And I have clients that do it as well. If you're in a deposition, sometimes other situations where they're testifying, you have to let them tell their story, rein them in so they don't wander off too far. So there's a lot of different things that are going on in the district court when you're handling cases, especially with the pro se individuals. So, that's some of the things. I don't know if you want me to keep going, but some of the things that I think that are important when handling the cases as a judge in the district court. You have to keep demeanor in the courtroom, but you can still do it in a respectful way to everybody, staff, attorneys, litigants.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christian?
Anthony?
How are you?
Good to see you. As some of the other commission members said, you've appeared before pretty much every judge in the district court and in the different district courts throughout the state, and about 100% of your time is spent in the district courts. I'd be interested to just hear from you, what's the greatest challenge in your opinion, having appeared before those judges in those different courts, that the district court is kind of facing right now, and as a judge, how would you address it if you were appointed to be a district court judge?
So, I mean, the inner workings, I'm not too familiar with the inner workings of the court. Obviously, if I was fortunate enough to get to that position, I'd be able to comment more on that. I think right now, the biggest issues that I see on my side is there's not enough judges, there's not enough sheriffs. So things get tied up. There's times where we're standing in the corridors waiting to get in. There's no sheriff to open up the doors. You know, you have a 9 o'clock case, they don't open the doors till 10 o'clock, 10:30. One day I was in Kent County till 11 before they actually opened the doors because they didn't have enough sheriffs to open up the courtroom. So, I mean, at this, and I know that there's kind of a shortage on judges as well. So I think those are the two areas they need to step up first and then start making the court a little more efficient and move the cases along.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Tom.
So I have personal knowledge of Anthony for a lifetime. We grew up in the same town and watched him become a lawyer. And everybody in Knightsville is using Anthony. I've watched him through his lifetime career of tackle anything. Of course, I think he applied the perfect court for him for what he does. Very versatile. So I think he made a great choice of applying it to the district court. And I think he'd be great. I think he's perfect, actually.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next interviewee this evening is Amy Dodge Murray. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Would you like to give an opening statement?
Sure, just very briefly. I just wanted to say, obviously, it's nice to see you all again. And as always, thank you for having me. It's always an honor and a privilege as an attorney to appear before this commission. But this time, I'm especially grateful to be in the company of so many amazing candidates because it's a full circle moment for me. Magistrate Goulart was my first criminal division chief when I was hired by AG Patrick Lynch 17 years ago. Anya Zielinski trained me in district court, and after court was over, I sat on the windowsill in her cubicle because we were busting at the seams back then. Maria Deaton sat next to me during my first ever Superior Court arraignment on the gun calendar before Judge Krause. And 2 years after I started in district court, I taught Rob Johnson how things work in the Providence County District Court, and he sat on the windowsill in my cube. So I just wanted to update you all on a few things that I have done since I've seen you last. This past legislative session, our office sponsored the attempted kidnapping of a minor bill, and it was discovered during the charging process in the last couple of years that in the state of Rhode Island, kidnapping of a minor is actually a capital offense, which carries a maximum penalty of life in prison. Kidnapping of an adult carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison, but there's no codified attempt statute. And we had 4 to 5 specific incidences or cases where a child was grabbed or attempted to be grabbed and either got away or someone else intervened, which prompted us to reevaluate the statutes that exist. We had some issues charging it under the common law because it would fail on the asportation, which was the actual movement of the child. So together with my colleague, we wrote the statute, testified before House and Senate Judiciary, and I'm happy to say that on June 24th, 2025, the governor signed it into law, effective immediately. So it will protect the most vulnerable population of Rhode Island, which is our children. And second, I started teaching criminal law to undergraduate students at Roger Williams University as an adjunct professor at the School of Justice. The associate dean told me that the hardest part would be to get my students to talk, and he was not wrong. College sophomores they're tough. But I hope that I enlightened them a little bit about all the different aspects of criminal law, and I kind of tried to highlight real life experiences with closed cases and had different guest speakers to come in to try to liven it up to show them that there's a lot more that you could do than obviously just be a prosecutor. So I even invited defense attorneys to come and talk about their perspective. But last week, Devin Flanagan told you that I cover the district court often when the office needs help, and that could not be a more true statement. I love the district court, I love the people, the court staff, and I love my time there. I spent 3 years in the district court in Providence, almost 4 on the Washington County calendar, and I've covered district court in Newport and Kent often. I started my career there, and I feel like I grew up there, and I really learned how to practice law and to be a good attorney. I mean, I think there's things that I know now that I wish I knew then, but I think that's true for all of us. And as a judge, many people say that the district court is the people's court, and as a judge, you have the opportunity to help so many people. I've had the good fortune to appear before most of the district court bench, and I can say that they are tremendous jurists. With the addition of all the new courts, Veterans Court, the Diversion Court, the Mental Health Treatment Court, there's so many opportunities to help the people of Rhode Island. And I've prosecuted cases from college kids who were trespassing at the old Ladd property in Exeter looking for ghosts, to murder bail hearings and everything in between. And all of that happens in district court. But it's never, and it's always been about justice and doing what's right. So I want to thank you again for your time tonight and the opportunity to be here to seek this position of a judge of the district court again. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you. And look at that. 15 seconds. As you know, I don't typically ask questions of candidates, but I've been asked by a number of members of the public to ask a question of all the candidates this evening.
Sure.
So I am, so I will kick things off. And that question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. As a woman, I certainly always support all reproductive rights. I have a daughter and wouldn't want anyone to tell me what to do with my body or her with hers. And I certainly support the rights of all members of the LGBTQA community, always.
Thank you. Jen?
Amy, I know some way, somehow, you are going to be on the bench. I do. Your perseverance in coming back, it will happen.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hello. I don't have any questions at this time, but I will say as someone who also works with college students, take your time, they will open up.
Okay.
Generally, sugar, caffeine, and cupcakes do also.
Okay, that helps. That's great to know.
Yes.
Gina?
Great to see you again.
Thank you. You too.
I'm just going to second what Commissioner LaForce said.
Thank you.
Yes, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Keep coming back. I think you're going to get there by some means.
Thank you.
Jason?
Good to see you, Amy. Wonderful applicant. I'll third what Commissioner LaForce said and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you too.
Christian?
Amy,
Hi.
this is the 4th time we've got to interview, an interview. I went back and looked at my notes. John McDonald was one of the first speakers. And the one word that stuck out consistently through John McDonald, Molly Cody, Judge Smith, Judge McBurney, and Ms. Flamingo. Kind of the theme was unbelievable fairness. And I know in your role as a grand jury, you have a lot of power and you have to be fair. I don't have any questions. I've known you for 17 years. We worked together for 7 of those years. So I think I echo the sentiments of the other commissioners. I think you make a great district court judge.
Thank you.
Tom?
Great opening meeting.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see you again.
You too.
Congratulations on the kidnapping law. That's
Yeah.
great. Awesome work. Love that. One question. Where do you think you'd be better, district or civilian?
I think either. I mean, I think that I am in such a unique position because I have, all of my cases start in the district court, so I work tremendously in district court and with them and through the charging process to Superior Court, but I also have most of what I do now is in the Superior Court, so I think I would bring different perspectives to each position.
Okay, wait.
Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening and welcome back, Amy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm Carolyn Flynn, and I'm a commissioner, and I'm joining you by teams. At this point, no questions. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, thank you so much, guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, well, thank you.
Would you like to
Appreciate
give
it.
an opening statement?
Yeah, thanks.
Start my handy clock.
I know, the dreaded clock.
It's been great, I have to say.
All right, I want to thank you for taking the time this evening, an opportunity to interview for the district court vacancy. I am truly grateful for this chance to speak with you folks about my qualifications, and especially thankful and appreciate all the time that you have given to all the candidates over the past several weeks. I've been here before. I know your job is not an easy one, and I do not envy the hard work that you folks all have to do. I did want to publicly thank Judge Pfeiffer and Magistrate Cruz Weller for their kind words last week. I hope those words have provided you some context as to who I am as a worker and a person. I know your time is precious, so I'm going to take just a few moments to give you some insight as to who I am and why I believe I'm uniquely qualified to fill the position of the judge of the district court. I'm particularly honored to be interviewing for the position left vacant by the appointment of Judge Dubose to the federal district court. Judge Dubose and I worked together at the Department of Attorney General. We're colleagues over the past few years as I sat in the district court. She's a good friend, and I would be thrilled if I were chosen to fill her seat. So I don't want to waste my time in going through my resume. I have my resume. I know you folks have my resume. I know you folks have already done that. I do want to point out that some of the experience, and note that my experience has been pretty varied. I was a law school teaching assistant. I was in private practice for a period of time, a judge advocate general in the United States Navy, a member of the AG's office, and finally a magistrate. I did want to point out that, as you can see from my resume and as you heard from the speakers, I'm ready to jump right in if appointed to the district court. I am currently sitting by designation on loan to the district court, and I've been hearing cases exclusively in the district court since June of 2023. I truly appreciate the support of Chief Magistrate DeSandro at the Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal and the confidence shown in me by Chief LaFazia and Chief Justice's talent to make this happen. For those of you who may wonder why I'm interested in the current position if I'm already sitting in the district court doing the job, as I mentioned, I'm only on loan, and at some point, if not appointed, I will have to return to the Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal. One last thing about the position itself, you will not see me appearing before the JNC seeking any other position. I believe I am uniquely qualified for the position in the district court. And I just want to take just a last few moments, talk a little bit about myself and some of the folks I have to thank for shaping me into the person I am today. I was born in Little Compton, raised essentially on a dairy farm. My paternal grandmother lived next door, uncles who actually worked the farm on either side of us, and you learned early on that helping your family or community was paramount. You helped collect the hay in the fall, milked the cows when someone was sick, and drove a farm truck even if you could barely reach the pedals. You learned the importance of hard work, family, community, something I hope my wife and I have taught our 3 kids. My parents never went to college, but they taught me everything that I needed to know. Try your hardest, never say no if asked for help, and strive to be a better person every day. I think about these lessons and them every day. I take a moment just to talk a little bit about the folks who had the greatest influence on my life, both professionally and personally. Of course, my parents, my first true boss, a sole practitioner at Trivident, who was an incredible mentor and teacher, my first commanding officer in the United States Navy, from whom I learned the importance of attention to detail, preparation, and how to comport oneself in a professional or military environment. He was truly a father figure to me while serving 5,000 miles away from home. Once I returned to Rhode Island and joined the Department of Attorney General, I had so many people influence my career. Defense attorneys like Peter DiBiase, Lenny O'Brien, Lisa Gescheit, public defender Rich Kasparian. And for those who are still practicing, are kind, highly ethical, smart, and they made me a better prosecutor. And there were so many more, and so many good judges who reinforced so many things that my folks taught me. And the one person who cajoled me, supported me, convinced me to try to become a judge many years ago, and to whom I will always be grateful, Judge William Dimitri. He is a role model and someone I appreciated as a jurist. He was thoughtful, unafraid, compassionate, and decisive. These are some of the traits and skills I think I bring every day when I hear cases in the district court. Folks may not be happy with your rulings, but if you listen and explain your reasoning for your decision, you've done the best you can do. So I appreciate your time. Happily answer any questions anyone might have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
15 seconds.
I'm sorry?
You had 15 seconds.
I know.
Well timed. So I've explained to all the candidates this evening that I typically do not ask questions, but I have been asked by a number of members of the public to ask the question of all the candidates tonight, which I am doing. And so that question for you is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
I do. I don't think that's an issue that would ever come before me in the district court, but I most certainly do. You know, having and raising two girls, I think that many of those issues are important, especially to them, but I most definitely do.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Lamar?
Good afternoon,
Hi.
sir. Thank you very much for your service as a JAG.
Oh, thank you.
My uncle served in the military, and I think you probably would have seen him a couple of times, unfortunately. I do want to ask, as a Judge Advocate General, what are the type of, what disciplines did you learn in that position that have taken you along your career?
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot of things in the military. I think that have really formed the basis of how I act today. Again, some of the things I mentioned earlier, attention to detail. It was critically important in the military. People's lives are at stake. Integrity, honesty, all of those things are certainly things that you learn in the military. The chain of command, which is also critically important in the military, also important at the Department of Attorney General when I worked there, how important it is to understand who is in the chain of command and to follow that chain of command. I think all of those things have helped me become a better judge and a better person, quite frankly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
good luck. And
Appreciate it.
move to next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gina?
Good evening,
Hi.
good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
You've been before us before, just made some presentations, so I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Jason?
Good evening.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Thank
Nice
you
to
for
see you.
applying.
Thank you.
Being at district court, what issues are you seeing that you would like to address for you to be permanently on the bench there?
Okay. Certainly, there are a lot of substance abuse issues in the district court. You see that as people come in on a daily basis. A lot of mental health issues. I think we have to do a better job at recognizing those early on and try to get them resources that might be available. And that's why I'm a huge believer in the pretrial services unit, where you can triage cases early on in the process and try to get them to the pretrial services unit to ensure that they receive the proper treatment or counseling while their case is pending in the district court. So all those things are critically important. You know, as people mentioned the other night, the district court is, as people like to say, the people's court. We see a lot of cases over the course of a day, over the course of a week, over the course of a month. You have to be able to identify those things because you're moving a lot of cases through the court on any particular court session. So, and then the other thing is certainly some resources, more resources to the extent they are available for people in the community where they're having people trouble making rent. For instance, today I sat on the civil calendar hearing landlord-tenant cases. It's heartbreaking to hear some of the things that you hear. So if there are programs available for folks who might be unable to make their rent, I think that would be important as well. So anything that maybe you could divert the people out of the court and into some type of other treatment program, I think would be really important.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Christian?
Hey, Alan.
Hey,
I don't have any questions, and the reason why is we've seen you before, Alan. I've known you for 20 years. We've worked for 3 of those years,
right.
and Jason stole my question. And that was going to be my question, because you have the unique perspective of sitting on the traffic tribunal for that time, and since 2023, working with the district court. And that was my question, is what are the challenges the court is facing, and how are you, Chief and the other judges, addressing them?
Yeah.
You nailed it, so
thank you.
so thanks for that.
All right, appreciate it. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Tom?
I don't have any questions, but great job. Great
thank you.
interview. Thank you for
I appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening and welcome back, Alan.
Thank you.
I'm Karen Glenn, you're welcome, and I'm a commissioner, and I'm joining you on Teams. I don't have any questions at this time, but thank you for applying.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Magistrate Goulart, I think you found your home in district court.
Well, thank you.
You're doing a fabulous job. The question I have, and we brought up with another candidate, what's happening with the sheriff situation? And what is being done about it? And the hold up in the morning, sometimes people are waiting an hour, hour and a half just to get in court. So what do you see behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Is it going to improve?
You know, it's tough, right? So there are a lot of bodies they're down, frankly, and it's a budget issue as much as anything else. And I know one of the first things I do when I take the bench, when I take it late, as you know, is I apologize to the people. I let them know, look, I'm sorry, we have an issue with the sheriff's not their issue, frankly. So what we're trying to do is do the best with what we can. We try to open one courtroom and have a judge go into that courtroom, take all the lawyers, try to get them out of there, all the formal matters, get them out of there, and then sometimes that sheriff will have to go to another courtroom and help open that courtroom. You know, it's more of anything else, just it's a person issue. It's an issue where they just need more sheriffs. Now they've started to address it a little bit. They have now allowed for lateral transfers from other police departments, and we're seeing it to get a little better. In fact, I was just talking to my sheriff this morning, and he said as of this week, things have gotten a lot better. Summer's difficult because of vacation schedules anyway. But it's really just, it's an issue for where they just need more people and they need more funding, frankly. And again, I hate it. I hate the fact that we're inconveniencing attorneys, litigants. It's not fair to them. But I try to get out there and move cases as quickly as I can once I'm on the bench.
Great to recognize it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time, folks.
We're going to get started again. Our next interviewee is Robert E. Johnson, of course. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Judge, you have an opening?
I'm sorry?
Opening statement?
Yes, I would. As I said, it's good to be back. It's great to be back. The last time I was before you, I was honored. That was 2023. That was October 2023. I am just as honored tonight to be here. This is, as I said then, and I'll say again, this is a great room to be in. I would rather be nowhere else in the world than right here before you all. To tell you a little bit more about me and why I think I'm a good candidate, good fit, good personality to diversify the bench, but also somebody that feels not that it's deserved, but I feel like I would certainly add a whole lot to it. And that I can say is personal to me in terms of why I think I could add to it. I think I have several qualities, and I think it goes without saying that to be an effective member of the judiciary, there are certain qualities a person candidate needs to have. And I think we're talking about dedication, we're talking about focus, we're talking about temperament, we're talking about ability to stay with things. And I think those are the kind of the prerequisites. But while those may be the prerequisites, there are also some qualities that add to a candidate, add to the bench, and those are kind of some intangibles, some valuable intangibles. And I think those intangibles that I also possess, along with the prerequisites, are the ability to be self-reflective. And I think that's one of my largest qualities, and that's I'm thinking about things, I'm thinking about processes, I'm thinking about what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, I'm thinking about why we're doing it. That's something that interests me, is to not necessarily be satisfied with the status quo, that maybe a Monday usually looks like this. Well, you know what, Monday doesn't always have to look like that, or these certain cases are handled a certain way, or these certain members of the public that'll be before you might be dealt with a certain way. That doesn't have to be how it goes. Mondays don't always have to be Mondays. Tuesdays don't always have to be Tuesdays. It's the ability, and it kind of segues into something else I think I would bring, is the ability to change, kind of in terms, like a baseball analogy, have several different pitches. I'm not going up there just to throw a fastball, and if that works for you, then great, because this isn't a one-stop shop, and you have to be, I think, as a candidate, as a hopefully going to the next level, as somebody that you want to be adaptable. You want to be able to work with somebody that's not having the best day, because people that are coming through the court system are generally not having the best day. That can't shock you, and you should be able to adapt to that, to be able to meet their needs, meet the needs of the case, meet the needs of what's in controversy before the court at that time. I think that's something I certainly can do, and I do well. And that, if I can do that, based on the background that I wrote about in the application I submitted, is 15 years with the Attorney General's office, and it is nothing short of trial by fire. It's testing you every day. You're doing, there's no one type of case you're doing. You are doing criminal law, but you are also expected to write memos. You are also expected to, what they don't teach you in law school is, you're expected to kind of be not a therapist, but you have to be able to deal with people in the public, and you have to have a personability about you, and that is a way to facilitate your job. You can simply, knowing the case law, knowing the facts of your case, and just showing up, that does not get it done. And I don't think that gets it done on the bench either. You cannot just show up and say, I'm prepared. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to roll with the punches in whatever comes. And so I feel like I am uniquely adaptable to that. In terms of where I've been since 2023, I've handled 6 homicide trials, 3 of which resolved by way of jury trial. I've handled several investigations into either excessive allegations of excessive force by different police departments, officers in different police departments across the state. I've also handled civil rights investigations in terms of criminal acts that may qualify for hate crime enhancement. And that alone, that's a very packed year. And on top of that packed year, I'm very happy to say my wife and I welcomed our first child who turned 9 months. So this past Monday. So that is also something, and that's its own challenge. It's certainly on top of the great challenge and great preparation that is being a part of the Attorney General's office. Thank you for your time, and I'd love to take some questions.
Very aggressive. Well, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
And welcome back. I've been telling all of the candidates that I am asking every candidate a question tonight that came from a number of members of the public, so I will kick things off. And that question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Unequivocally. I unequivocally support that.
Thank you. Gina?
Thank you. Great to see you again. Very happy to see you again.
Thank you.
After your last visit here, I'm a super fan. So I think that I'm doing this with people who come before us. I'm not really going to ask you a question. I just want to give a little bit of comment. I think that your enthusiasm, your intellect, your love of the law, your passion for justice, all of that comes through. And I loved your comparison, or in your updated application, you stated how becoming a parent made you think even more so about the comparisons between that and being on the bench. And it's great that I always say I live my life on ballerina point shoes, so that way, whichever way I have to spin, I'm ready to spin. And that is a quality that will serve you well in parenthood.
That's so far.
Yes. And even just as well on the bench. So best of luck to you. Great to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Jason.
Wonderful to see you again. Thank you so much for applying. Great application, great applicant, and congratulations on it. I don't have any questions for you this evening. Keep at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Christian.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Christian, how are you?
Good. I echo the sentiments of my fellow commission members. I was looking at my notes. Previously, I had Anna Geron, who I worked with along with you, who was a victim when his advocate spoke very highly of John McDonald as well. And recently, Kim Ahern, who was a colleague, and David Craven. So great speakers all around. We worked together for 5. I think I've known you for 15 years at least. You've been in the criminal side of the AG's office for that entire time. How is that experience? How will it shape your perspective as a judge? You've got other candidates who've done, private sector work, public sector work, and you've been in the public sector as an AG. How will that shape it as a judge if you were appointed to the bench? Both your wins and losses, I guess, as a prosecutor.
Thank you. Yes. So I have been on strictly criminal side, but even I guess being not mostly, but mainly on the criminal side of the office, there is also a civil component to it where I feel like we are. For example, the work that I was doing early on in the career, district court wise, some of those appeals were certainly civil in nature. A lot of the memos we're filing, it feels not just like I don't think I'm a person that sees themselves, if I'm not in a courtroom, I'm lost.
Sure.
There's certainly a whole lot of work that goes into everything we're doing that isn't certainly sitting up in front of a jury or making an argument during a jury trial like that. I would bring something I was thinking about is the skill set coming in, and I think also hard work is a skill, and there's several skills where I think there are colleagues of mine that you know them. I won't call them out here, but these are the folks that there's a certain point that'll come up in a case or a certain point of law, and within a second they've got the case, the citation, and they're pulling that out of like a photographic memory. And I'll be very honest, that's not me. But what I do bring is the wherewithal to know that's not me. And while that person is kind of recalling things, I'm the person that's going to make a file of, these are the cases that speak to self-defense. These are the cases that speak to felony murder. These are the cases that speak to these certain legal points. I'm going to have I'm going to have my kind of case law that's good for that. So I'll have a resource because I know what I'm good at. I know what I need to work on. And so while I don't consider my lack of experience in the civil realm as a weakness, it's just kind of lower down the list of strengths. But I possess, and this kind of like the athlete background of, I played basketball and ran track, and these are not, especially running track and all the way through college, not something that is, I wouldn't say track is, people aren't running track because it's really fun. You run because you're fast, and everybody's like, that's how you get into it. But when you stay with it, a certain type of person stays with it. And I think I'm the type of person, because I stay with it, I'm okay with a little bit of pain. I'm okay with having to work a little bit harder. I'm okay with staying a little bit later. And I'm certainly willing to learn. I think the hard work being a skill, willingness to learn, knowing that you don't know everything, I think that's a great strength of mine, because again, going in with preconceived notions in any arena sets you sets you back. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You don't even realize it. So I go into these situations open, eyes open, and I want to learn. And I think if I was, again, honored enough to make it through this stage, to ultimately be selected, my first thing is I'm going to use my colleagues as resources. I want to be a sponge. I want to know, what did you do? How was your first month? How were your first 6 months? What are the problems that came up? So I can find that stuff out, have it up here, have it written down somewhere that these are the things that are going to happen, and these are the things that you need to read up on. These are the cases that are most pertinent to this type of hearing, this type of action. So I don't have any reservations or any fear about being mainly in the civil realm, because hard work translates. So I plan to translate with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
Your first interview, I was super impressed. Impeccable. I still feel the same way. I think you're a perfect candidate. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening and welcome back.
Good evening to you, and thank you.
Glynn, you're welcome. I'm Karen Glynn, and I'm a commissioner joining you this evening from Teams. At this time, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Rob, you have a genuine enthusiasm that is easily seen by me and others. You do. You work hard, I watch you in court, and you have a uniqueness to you that maybe others you can expound on. You do some of the investigations into police brutality. In some cases you charge, some cases you don't. That's uniquely different from other people. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, I
It's
can.
like a division that kind of you're the head of, I think.
I'm not the head of, but I am part of. I'm one of 3 attorneys that handle those prosecutions. And so the Civil Rights Unit, which it's called, the first inception of it in the office. So this is the first iteration of it at the AG's office. That's mainly handling officer-involved shootings. So while in the past those cases could be handled by anybody in the office, kind of at large, at random, kind of who is available. And there's good and bad to that. And I think that kind of centralizing it to where this unit handles that, you've got the same sets of eyes looking at the same thing. So we're familiar with the case law. We're familiar with the experts that we may or may not bring in, and it's easier to know when to bring in an expert to come and comment on use of force. And in addition to use of force or allegations of excessive use of force, well, actually no, I've been talking about officer-involved shooting. So aside from that, allegations of excessive use of force, I've handled several of those cases, and it's no secret those are very challenging cases, but I welcome them. They are, it's very necessary work, and I believe, and not just believe, I know, because officers tell you that, and certainly when they're in front of you and you're talking to them about a situation where they're having to give you a statement about their colleague, it's somewhere that you see these officers that they are nervous and they're putting their trust in you to deal with this sensitive situation, and I'm happy to do that. Some of those cases, at 15 years, there are all your cases get your attention, but sometimes there are cases that make you even present sense in the moment. I said one of my qualities, I think it's being self-reflective, is during those cases I feel this is why I'm here. This is why I enjoy this. It's not a job. You're really affecting change. You're doing the hard work that not everybody's comfortable with doing. Not everybody is comfortable with putting a police officer in grand jury and asking them questions, or especially sometimes the target may come into grand jury and you're asking them questions. And it's some of the most rewarding things I think I can do with this job, and I really enjoy. And when I say enjoy, I don't get pleasure out of prosecuting somebody, just the same as I don't think myself or anybody gets pleasure out of recommending sentences that are going to take away somebody's liberty. It's not enjoyment. It's kind of dedication to, what the job entails, what it needs, and you want to do that job and do that, kind of take the process. You want to take all the facts, all of the witnesses. You want to take that through the process, so you trusting yourself to know that you are a good steward of that subject matter. You're going to get it to the right place, the right result, something that shows that the system's working legitimately. And I think again that tails right into what I think the attitude or the mission of a member of the bench is. It's you're not there to create. You are there as kind of a steward of the process. You're there to let the process happen, as smoothly and as naturally under the law as possible. While you are, you're an observer, and at some point you're going to hand a sentence down or some rulings. But you are there to make sure that the public knows that they can, when they're before you, their matters and their cases and controversy are going to get where they should go and where they need to go to some finality with competent rulings and attentiveness to them. And I feel those two things are very, very similar in application, even though they're obviously miles apart. From being a judge possibly to handling those cases. And lastly, just with what else the unit handles, we handle criminal acts that may qualify for a hate crime enhancement, and that's also something that was this was predated kind of the formation of the Civil Rights Unit. We were doing those around 2020 as well. We've had some good cases, and we're finally using the law that's been on the books since 1998. I think we're having a lot more prosecutions, but also successful prosecutions in that. And the state's jurisprudence with that with those cases is still young, so we're still kind of getting the judiciary up to speed on that as well. Because sometimes it's it doesn't have to be a scene out of A Time to Kill to actually qualify for a hate crime investigation or enhancement. That's the hard part, is getting that across to members of the judiciary that are looking for you're looking for the thing that makes national news, and sometimes the things that if you handle on the community level, you can stop, or hopefully you can be the thing that stops communities from actually getting to a point where that national stuff happens or things that hit the news happen. Maybe you can catch this at the neighborhood level, and we want to be a part of that. So I'm happy with that work.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Going through your packet, wonderful packet. I do believe that you will make a great candidate. I share the sentiments of everyone else here. I think that you will do a wonderful job, and I will say personally, as a movie buff and a fan of the economy, I love the reference to A Time to Kill, and also for the baseball reference there. But at this time, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All set? Okay.
Yes, I forgot something.
Nope. Thank you for hearing from me today. It's been great being before you again. Thank you.
Is Eva Marie Mancuso. Would you like to make an opening statement?
I would, thanks so much.
I'm going to start the clock.
Sure. First of all, thank you for your volunteer service. A lifetime appointment, especially at this time in our world, is just so important. So thank you for that. My quest for justice, as long as I can remember, I've been someone who has been on a quest for justice from Parkview to Cranston East, URI, Suffolk Law School, student leadership positions. I always leaned in and stood up. And I got that example from my parents. Community service was lived. Everyone had a role. My dad was a state trooper by day and the football coach every other time. My mom was the high school secretary, and she was all sports to all the secretaries. Now, Nana and Papa were a movie. Nana and Papa were in charge of the concession stand. And my grandfather would count the hot dogs to make sure the volunteers paid for their hot dogs if they ate them, because the money was for the kids. My brothers and sisters were the athletes, and me, I was the statistician. We all had a role. So we had this house in Edgewood, 3 generations in this small kitchen. And picture dinner time, right? So Dad would bring in these young men, and again, he was a state trooper, but he was a football coach. He would bring in these young men that really had nowhere to go and nowhere to eat. And my mom would say, Tony,
how many more are coming in? And my father would say, put more water in the gravy, cut the meatballs in half, and throw on another pound of macaroni. That's just the way it was. And he always ate last. That resonated with me. So when Sean and I, and you heard from my witnesses that I have a boatload of kids and grandchildren, what have you. So when we started raising our family, we raised them with the same principles that I was raised with. A teacher, 3 social workers, and a soldier. We travel as a family, as you can see here today. And again, just a random sample. My legal career in the courtroom, which is what we're here to talk about, right? I was a prosecutor, and every single case was important to the people that were the litigants, but some stand out. I prosecuted the Blackstone Valley sniper case. I prosecuted Ralph Perry for embezzling from the state, from RIMFAC. I handled a kidnapping and rape case where a young couple was abducted in Roger Williams Park and thrown out of the car in '95. I handled murder cases, child molestation cases. And then when I transitioned into private practice, I used the same zest that I had for advocating on behalf of victims to do plaintiff's work. And in private practice, I routinely joined with other law firms so that we could be as effective as we could. I handled the Station nightclub fire, many discrimination cases, and the hayride collision that happened, and most recently, I represented 33 of the cities and towns in the national opioid litigation. I have fought in the courtroom and in the public for injustices since the beginning of my career. I was on the House of Delegates for the Bar Association, and most proud that for many years I was part of the Trial Lawyers Association, and then I rose to be the first female president of the Trial Lawyers. It was through this service that I really saw that we really could lend our voice in the public aspect. So it was through my service on the Board of Education as chair that I realized how these legal skills would be so important. One of the things that I say all the time was really a hallmark for me is passing the policy for in-state tuition for undocumented kids. For me, that was the pinnacle of my career, and I cried when it was signed into law, codified at the time, because I really thought it was the right thing to do. And that service on the Board of Education sparked me starting Close to Kids Rhode Island, because teachers would say to me, Eva, you want to raise test scores. We want kids to show up to school. Kids are sharing shoes, they're sharing coats, they're getting bullied. Come on, what's happening here? So one of my law school buddies was moving back to the area, so we put together this public nonprofit, and we started Close to Kids. 10 years later, we've given out more than 18,000 wardrobes to children in need. That's a small window into who I am. Over the 40 years I have practiced law and lived in this community. As I think somebody wrote to you in a letter that I was as Rhode Island as they come. I am Rhode Island born and Rhode Island bred, and when I die, I'll be Rhode Island dead. That's the URI fight song. Over the 40 years of practicing law and living in Rhode Island, I crossed paths with many people, and I asked them to write to you about me. Because whether I chair the Board of Education, or whether I'm a volunteer, or whether I'm making Sunday meatballs, I am who I am. And I wanted them to tell you who I was and what I'm all about. I will give the grace and dignity to every individual that I expect. I will give the grace and individual if I get that opportunity. So, thank you. Glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I see more family members.
Yes, yep.
So I've explained.
They get a pass though, because they have 2 little ones.
So yes, they definitely do. I have been explaining to all the candidates that I do not typically ask questions, but I have heard from a number of members of the public asking me to ask a specific question to all of the candidates this evening, so I am. And so I will kick things off by asking that question of you. And that question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Absolutely, yes. And that is not just what I say, it's what I have done. It's what I have advocated for throughout my entire career. So my record is very clear on that. I am pro-choice. I represent discrimination has no part in our world, period, end of story. Hard stop, end of story. And I could tell you that, and which is true, I have children that are gay, I have a granddaughter that's trans, and I have lots of people in my life that are a lot of different ways, and you know what? We all eat the same macaroni and meatballs every Sunday. And I say that with all heart, and that's just the way it is, end of story.
Thank you. Jason?
Great to see you and wonderful to read your application.
Thank you.
Thanks for applying. My question, who or what type of judge would you model yourself after on the bench?
So that's actually a great question, because I think I'm very much an individual, but you pull from a lot of people. Judge JNC, who was the presiding justice, was somebody that I loved his temperament. He had a way about him that he could rule totally against you, but it was never personal. And that to me was really, really important. I can tell you that from the Judge Caprio's a character, right? I mean, he's just great with people. That's the way I look at it. I emulate a lot of judges. I look at Maureen McKenna Goldberg, who I think she was a trailblazer. She was the first female in the Attorney General's office that was the chief. Her, Susan McGurl, what have you. I mean, they were just, you could disagree, you could argue all day, but it was never personal. That's who I am, and I think that comes with a lot of years of experience. Thanks for the question.
Christian?
How are you?
Good.
My question is, why now? You've had such a, successful private sector, public sector, nonprofit, government, education. I mean, it runs the gamut. Very successful over the course of your career, starting out as a DA and then going to the AG's office. So why the district court bench now in this really successful career of yours?
That's a great question, because I did try like 20 years ago when I was a lot younger and a lot more aggressive. And you know what? I always say things happen for a reason, right? I don't know that I really was ready then, but I think now, and especially the district court, it's the people's court. And I just think I bring that kind of experience with it. Why now? Because I'm in chapter 2 right now. I still got a lot more left in me, and after 40 years of practicing and quite frankly, finishing a lot of really major cases, I was ready to give back in a different way. Our children have raised, we're in a different lifestyle. Fortunately, Sean is still working, and we're just as excited and passionate about the law as I was then. So why now? I think I'm ready. Well, I know I'm ready. It's whether you think I'm ready.
Great interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
No questions, but great interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's very hard to do, It's very hard to put, when you don't ask people for things, right? And you've done everything your whole life based on your own work, it's very hard to ask. It's hard to ask people for letters. It's hard to ask people to speak on your behalf. It's hard to do that, and it's very humbling. It's very humbling to do it.
Great job.
Thank you.
Karen?
Good evening, Eva.
Hi, Karen.
Hi there. I'm Karen Glynn, and I'm a commissioner joining you on Teams tonight.
Great.
My question. Nelson Mandela said, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I have fallen down and gotten back up." Please, tell me a time you've fallen down and have gotten back up.
That's another great question. I think there's many, and there's many on different levels. We've suffered, my biggest thing and falling down really happened in college. And that was when I lost my birth mother. My mom that's here today is actually my stepmother, although we never use that term. And she was 39 and she just died one day. And I was in college and I was the oldest, and I was raised in a big Italian family, so my job was to come home and take care of everybody, right? My father said, "I'll change the locks. Your job is to do what you do." So yeah, I mean, you fall down, and that's just one. As I've lost cases. I'll never forget trying a date rape case. And I'm in the courtroom, and poor Shawnee's heard me say this 100 times. The jury came back not guilty so fast, and I couldn't understand why. I mean, I had proved the case. She got up there, the guy raped her, and he had beaten her, and what have you. And afterward, the jury talked to us. And you know what one of the women asked me? What was a nice girl doing out on a date with a black guy? Race, to me, was never an issue. I couldn't understand how that happened. I didn't voir dire on it. I didn't ask about it. I didn't see it. This was 30 years ago. It was just, to me, that's the way it was. They couldn't get past that issue. And so that, to me, and plus he was willing to plead 7 years to serve, and I didn't think that was enough time at the time. That, to me, was one of those things where I realized, wow, I've got to do some more research as to what the jury's thinking. Not what I'm thinking, and not how I bring it to the table. So I would think those things, as I'm sitting here, was probably the most difficult times that I've dealt with, both personally and professionally, is realizing that I didn't know everything, you know?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim?
Eva, I think you will make a wonderful judge.
Thanks, Jimmy. I
do.
appreciate it.
I think you will be on that bench and you will dole out the justice that you've learned during your whole lifetime. There's a bunch of candidates that are all pretty good. What makes you unique among all?
I think the breadth and the depth of my legal experience. You know, the district court is civil and criminal. It's not just criminal. It's not just civil. I've had to show up late sometimes for court because I was in a different court. And I find sometimes people that have worked in government their whole life don't understand that balance that we do in private practice. So that aspect of it, I think, makes me different. And I also think 40 years of practicing law. I've represented a lot of different people. I've tried a lot of different cases. I've met a lot of different people. And I think that's so ingrained in you that it's not something you can learn right away, right? It's, as I said, I'm not sure 20 years ago I was ready to be the judge I could be today because of that life experience that happens. You know, we've had happy days, tough days, and what have you all on the way. So I think that's probably it.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
Sentiments shared by everyone else, absolutely agree. Read your packets, absolutely wonderful. I do have one question for you. Serving as your time on the Rhode Island Board of Education and as a co-founder for Close for Kids, RI, what are some of the traits or learnings from your time in the nonprofit education sector that you believe will help you in your next potential journey?
So that's another great question. You guys are really good, by the way. You know, these are good questions. So as chair of the Board of Education, when I convened hearings on the issue of in-state tuition for undocumented kids, these are Rhode Islanders, right, that have gone through school, Plather versus Doe, from kindergarten all the way to high school. They're Rhode Islanders. And now all of a sudden they got to pay out-of-state tuition to go to CCRI, URI, right? And so when I convened this hearing, I was amazed that there were so many people that were so negative that would come and testify in public. I mean, it's one thing to say something in a back alley or a back room, but to come to do it. And so that was a learning experience for me to see that the level of hate that's out there in just some individuals. And this isn't like, you know, West Virginia, this is like Rhode Island, right? So that, I learned a lot from that. And I said, if that sentiment translates into the next generation of kids, we got to break that cycle. We've got to make sure that the kids that are in school, so these parents who have children, we've got to make sure that they hear it. I had an opportunity a lot of people don't have to do. I chaired the Board of Education at the highest level as chair, right? And then I gave out clothes to children in need. And working with kids, passing out wardrobes, having them come in, working with them to shop and what have you, all free of charge. And so I got to really talk to kids as well. And that's what I learned the most. And I think those experiences, understanding that what appears isn't always the way it is. And I think a great judge will really look behind the circumstances, right? That's why we have judges and we don't have slot machines where you push in certain numbers, right? Okay, you did this, so therefore you get this crime. We have judges so that we can exercise discretion and look at a situation and analyze a situation and look at it based on that individual. And I think my training in the nonprofit sector showed me that, especially just to learn and see what it was about. I'm a lifelong learner, and it was great fun. And I still volunteer close to kids when they let me, because now I have a full-time director, and sometimes they tell me they're all set, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I started this, you know. But it's all good. Thank you.
Gina. Hi, welcome.
Hi,
Nice
thank
to
you.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes. Because it's your first time here, just one question, and it's probably a difficult question to answer, but what do you think would be your greatest challenge if you were on the district court bench?
Oh. My greatest challenge. Probably wanting to do a little bit of social work as well as doing what I would have to do, you know? I'm used to working with people, you know, when we are counselors at law. You know, I always say we're lawyers and counselors at law. You do a lot of that kind of work to try to help people. I see that as a plus and a minus for district court, because you have the opportunity to do it. There's the special courts, you know, so you can work with veterans. I have a veteran son. You can work with people that have drug addictions. Okay, so you can apply that to it, but sometimes I'd have to step back, you know, and not get that involved. But I think that's probably my biggest challenge.
Thank you.
That and leaving the building at 4 o'clock, that's like unbelievable. You know, I mean, that's when I can remember one time where when I was an assistant attorney general of Nicole, and I was in the courthouse, and it was 4:30, and it was a summer day, and they're like, you gotta get out of here, we locked the doors. I'm like, wait, they locked the doors here. Private practice, as you know, they don't lock the doors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming. No, my gloves will see you cannot clap.
Good evening.
Our next interviewee this evening is Michael J. McCaffrey. Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to make an opening statement?
I certainly would, yes.
We'll start my handed for
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me for an interview. And I want to say thank you for the hard work and dedication that you put in your position as commissioners. I know it's not an easy job. You put a lot of time in, a lot of effort in, and you should be commended for that. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I know you've heard things about me, read things about me. I want to tell you a little more about myself. I grew up in Warwick, in the Hotsey section of Warwick. My mother and father, Anna G. McCaffrey, have passed away. My mother most recently on Valentine's Day of this year. Both my parents worked while we were in school. My mother was a school teacher as a special education teacher, and my father was an attorney. They encouraged hard work and public service. I have 4 siblings. There's 4 siblings, and during summers, my brothers and I, we co-hogged on Narragansett Bay bull raking. I always said that was the best summer job you could have. I graduated from Providence College, went to Suffolk University Law School, graduated from Suffolk University Law School, and started practicing law in 1989 with my sister Mary and my father. Working in a family practice is a unique situation. I was fortunate as a lawyer in 1989 that my father gave me a case to take on. It was against a lawyer from Pawtucket, a seasoned lawyer from Pawtucket. I was prepared as much as I could be prepared. I went to court. I spent the day in court, had a hearing in court, went back to the office, and my father said with a smile on his face, "How'd you make out?" He said, "You're all set for now." How many people have that opportunity in the practice of law? In the 1990s, I was an assistant solicitor for the city of Warwick. I worked for the school department, and I did district court work. I've tried cases in all the courts in Rhode Island, as well as in municipal courts in Rhode Island. I've also argued in the U.S. District Court for Rhode Island. I've handled both criminal and civil matters. In 1993, I was fortunate enough to meet my wife.
My wife is a daughter of immigrants. She's the first person in her family to go to school. She went to URI, graduated with a master's degree and bachelor's degree in nursing, and she's currently a school nurse teacher in the city of Warwick. We have 4 children, my son Michael, and I have 3 daughters, Kaylin, Brenna, and Deirdre. My wife and I still live in Warwick. If it weren't for my family and my wife, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. In the McCaffrey family, it was important that you did public service in one form or another. Right now, I'm a member of the Volunteers of Warwick School, a member of the Connecticut Village Association, and I'm on the board of directors of Thrive Behavioral Health. Thrive Behavioral Health is an organization that helps people who are in recovery, whether it's drug addiction, mental health issues. In addition, I was a member of the Rhode Island Senate for 28 years. I served in numerous positions in the Senate, rising to the rank of the majority leader, and I served as the Senate Judiciary Chairman for a number of years. Being in the Senate was a great experience. Running for election is a great time because you're out there meeting people, listening to what their issues are, and knowing that every person is different, every person has different issues. While I was in the Senate, I was fortunate enough to be a Senate representative on the Justice Reinvestment Commission. That was a commission that was put together by the governor at the time to study the justice system in the state of Rhode Island, mainly the criminal justice system in the state of Rhode Island, to see why people are in the justice system. It was determined that a lot of people who are in the justice system are there because of alcohol issues, drug issues, and mental health issues. And it was important to say, let's address their issues on the front end so that they don't end up in prison down the road. I also participated in many of the revisions to the expungement law. That goes a long way because a number of people had two misdemeanors on their record, and that would be on there for life, and would often be an impediment to get a job or even coach their kids' sporting events. I was glad that I was able to help out in that. In addition, over the time, we did create, as a result of legislation, the Veterans Treatment Calendar in District Court and the Mental Health Calendar in the District Court. These are important because the mental health issues are becoming more and more prevalent in society. The District Court is a court of general jurisdiction. It hears matters both criminal and civil, and a large volume of matters. I've been fortunate to work with different individuals navigating difficult situations, whether it be in the practice of law and volunteer work in my practice of law. It's a culmination of this experience that I feel that I'm qualified to sit on the District Court. Lastly, I know my time is running out, but I feel it's important that I respond to the comments that individuals made before this committee last week. Like many public officials, my understanding of these matters has evolved over time. I've listened, I've learned and grown, both personally and professionally. And I have members of my family who are members of those communities. And I believe that the growth and essential equality is important in any judge. Also, I understand that some of my past legislative votes have been brought forward. I would just ask that you look at the time that those votes were taken and the broader legislative process that was involved with that. As both chair of the Judiciary Committee and the majority leader in the Senate, and a member of the leadership team, a number of these pieces of legislation that were discussed last week would not have come to the Senate floor if it was not for leadership decisions. And I've always treated everyone with dignity and respect, both in the public and out of public service. And if I'm appointed to the bench, I will continue to ensure that every person who enters my courtroom feels seen, heard, and equally treated under the law. I would request that you ask for your vote as an Associate Justice of the Rhode Island District Court and move my name to the governor. And I'm available to answer any questions that any committee members have.
Thank you. So I have told all the candidates tonight that I have been asked by a number of members of the public to ask a question of all candidates this evening. And I have, and so I will ask you that question, but I think based on what you just said and the fact that, as you alluded to, we have heard a lot of testimony on that topic, I will probably tweak it a little. So I think first I will read the question to you and then change it a little so that you can answer. And so the question is whether you personally and professionally support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders. And so I know that you just spoke a little about the evolution of your beliefs over time, and also the fact that some legislation was able to reach the Senate floor because, only because I should say the leadership allowed it to do so. And so based on all of that, I guess the question is whether you think that your personal beliefs and your record in the Senate would serve as any type of hindrance if you were to become a district court judge, and your ability, in what's been called the People's Court, to treat everyone fairly and with dignity.
Well, let me first say I do have 3 daughters, so rights of women are very, very important to me. I don't believe that my political views or what my political influences on issues would be something that I would take to the bench with me. It doesn't deserve to be on the bench. As a judge, you have to listen to the facts, be neutral, and then apply the law, the state law, whatever the state law is at this time. I know that the Senate did pass the codifying Roe v. Wade when I was in the Senate, and that was, I think, in 2019. And in addition, with respect to LGBTQ plus rights, I think that all individuals, whatever the law is, will be protected under those rights.
Thank you. Christian?
Mike, how are you?
Good.
Good. What skills or perspective did you take away from your, I think you said it's 28 years at the legislature and 36 years practicing law? What skills and perspective would you take from that and apply that to your time on the bench in district court,
well,
if you were appointed?
Obviously, being a legislative versus a judge is 2 different things. In the legislative process, you do a lot more negotiating and things of that nature. As a judge, you're sitting there as the trier of fact, listening to the facts and applying the law to the facts as best you can apply the law to the facts. I will say that being in the General Assembly was a great experience for me. It allowed me to go out and meet people. I met a lot of people, and more importantly, I learned a lot about the state laws. A lot of laws that change come through the General Assembly, and it's something that you pick up. I mean, I had a case, I don't want to go on, but I had a case where I was reading a statute, and the statute lists the pecking order of who has priority to determine who can cremate a body. And there was a case where the stockbroker kind of got involved and took over things, and he signed a cremation order. So just being in the General Assembly and having reading that statute at one point in time, he said, there's a cause of action here. So I think that's a great asset, that being in the General Assembly. And practice of law, we all have different practices of law. My practice is a small family practice. We do a number of different things. We do a lot of work in district court. We do some work in superior court. And we do a lot of work in probate court and municipal courts. I mean, so I do have a broad cross-section of the practice of law. In addition, when I was in the city solicitor's office, I was fortunate to go to federal court a number of times on a couple of education issues.
Thank you.
Tom?
I just want to let everybody in this room know. I've known Leader McCaffrey for 25 years. He's not from Monster, and I'm trying to make him out today. He's a gentle guy, he's a nice guy, and I co-lobbyist for the auto body industry. And he was always our go-to guy where I could call him, get an appointment, go in and talk to him about different things that we wanted to change. He spent the time with us and explained to us. Sometimes I left there happy, you're right, and sometimes I left there disappointed because he showed us where we were wrong. So he's a great teacher, and he looks at things from both sides. He doesn't just root, for the Auto Body Association. He'll look at both sides of the insurance companies. And 90% of our bills that we put through are always consumer-orientated bills. And he recognized that, he taught us that. So I think he's a great leader. And being in the lead position, you take a lot of heat for everything. You get a lot of political pressure on some of your choices. A good leader always follows the president. So sometimes some of the choices may not have been close. So I just want everybody to think about that. And I think he's a perfect candidate with his abilities. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening, Michael. I'm Karen Flynn, and I'm a commissioner joining you this evening by Teams. My question. Nelson Mandela said, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I have fallen down and gotten back up again." Please, tell me about a time you've fallen down and gotten back up.
I could tell you 2 times. When I was 37 years old, I had 3 young children and my wife. After Thanksgiving, I came down with pneumonia. And I was sick at home, recovering and taking the medications. I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I would go to the doctor, they'd take x-rays, and he'd send me back home. One day I went to the doctor, he listened to my lungs, he said, "You're going to the hospital." So I was at Kent County Hospital. I went in that day. My wife was working, so she came from work to the hospital. And within 12 hours, I was in the ICU unit, and they were hooking me up to all sort of IVs and respiration, and they wanted to put a vent on me. And my wife said, "Absolutely not." And she said, not put the vent with me, but I'm going to go on with another story number of years later. So I recovered, and the only thing I have is a residual cough. You may have heard a cough from someone out in the hallway there, that was me. So during COVID, my son was in law school. He wasn't feeling well. He was sick, and of course, because of my pneumonia and my wife's a nurse, we had the O2 sensor at home. So my wife put the O2 sensor on him. His O2 was a little above 80. She said, "Well, you got to go to the clinic." So we went to the walk-in clinic, my wife and my son, and during COVID, she couldn't go in with him. So he goes in, the nurse comes out and says, "We're going to call the ambulance for your son. We're going to have him go to the hospital." My wife said, "Well, they take him to Miriam Hospital because that's where she worked a number of years when she was a nurse in a hospital." They said, "No, they're not going to take him there." So my wife put him in the car, drove him up to Miriam Hospital, was trying to contact me. I was working with a client. Usually when I'm with a client, I have my phone off. And so when I finally reached her, he had been allowed in the emergency room. She couldn't get in the emergency room because they weren't letting anyone in. He got admitted, so we went home that night. The next day in the afternoon, my son calls my wife and says, "They want to put me in a cardiac unit because my oxygen levels aren't coming up." So they put him in the cardiac unit. And that night, I still remember the night now, it was a Thursday night he went in. Friday night at 3 o'clock in the morning, we get a call from the hospital that they want to put my son in the ICU on a ventilator. And so my wife talks to the doctor, and the doctor says, "We got to do something. He's not breathing. He's having problems breathing." So they had to sedate him and put him on a ventilator. And we couldn't get into the hospital because they said, "We don't know if he has COVID. He's always tested negative for COVID. Never tested positive for COVID." So the next day we were fortunate enough to get into the hospital. We went into the hospital. It's a life-changing event. We went into the hospital, and my son we went in one at a time. They wouldn't let us both one at the same time. My son's lying there on a ventilator, motionless. That's the worst thing in the world that happened to me and to my wife in our lifetime. We were fortunate that a number of days later, our son was recovered. He got out of the hospital a while after that, and he completed law school. He's practicing law. But that's a situation something that we would extremely down. We didn't know what was going to happen, and he recovered, and we were able to. We moved forward. He's only got to see doctors on a regular basis. He's actually practicing law now. So I mean, that's something that I feel was a great learning experience, and that was one of the reasons that I decided not to run for re-election. I said, I got to start to spend more time with my family. When you're in politics, during the summer when you're campaigning, it's weekends, weeknights, constantly. During the session, the longer you're there and the higher up you go in the chairs, the more time you have to put in. And so my wife and I made a decision that I'm going to step back from politics for a period of time. And so at that point in time, we decided I stepped back from politics.
Michael, you and I have seen each other in district court for probably 25 plus years, for sure. And I have to say, you're the most compassionate person that I've ever seen in the corridor of district court. I see you talking to clients and people, and one time, you probably won't remember this, we were talking, and a young girl approached us and was interrupting our conversation. She didn't know where to go. It wasn't me that said to her, you gotta go down this way to the clerk. You broke our conversation and you talked to her, she wasn't your client, you directed her where you go. I think you have a great personality that will do well on the district court. And some of the things that other people have said, that's the political side. This is the judicial side in your whole career from law and a natural transition into a judgeship. And Michael, I think you'll do a fabulous job there, and I support you wholly. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
I didn't hear you.
I said, good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. I didn't hear I heard the good evening, I didn't hear the how you doing.
Just a quick question for you. You mentioned in your beginning of this interview process that things have changed, times have changed. The way you voted is the way you voted due to bills coming onto the floor. But you also mentioned the human component of it, and I wanted to ask if you could share very briefly what human component made you change your mind, or has helped you evolve your decision making?
Well, I think if you look at all of society over the last number of years, society has changed its view on a lot of those issues. Going back to the 90s, there's a number of senators, Democratic senators, who voted for Defense of Marriage Act. They have changed their views on those things. I think it's an evolution of the issues and getting the issues out there so that people become aware of them. I mean, I have, like I said, I have family members who are members of those communities. We get along great. We get along great. You know, it's a question of things have evolved over time.
Thank you.
Gina, welcome. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I have a question here. I think I just want to make a comment on something you said. You said that there is difference between the political realm and the judicial, which clearly, okay. But you have a ability to negotiate. You have ability to bring people together. You mentioned it. All of your references state the same thing. There's, dozens and dozens of letters that say, great listener, respectful, disciplined, understands the issues, and treats people with dignity. So as a, family practitioner myself,
yeah.
right, so that brings a whole, I'm gonna get to that. In many circumstances, a great jurist will bring the parties to resolve the issue. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that, yes.
Because the last thing that's needed is more parties and others being involved and being cantankerous. It's about, do you have the skill to bring these parties to a resolution without wasting more time with the court? And that's a skill.
I would think that in a number of situations, I would be able to do that, but in certain cases, as you know, and the other lawyers on this committee know, you're never going to resolve some issues. You have to have the judge make a decision in them. But most cases, as you know, do get resolved by either negotiating between the parties or having the judge be involved in the negotiating process.
Right.
To give his or her recommendations as to what they may think.
And as far as the family law practice, being well experienced in practicing in a firm with family, I think that experience also brings some good qualities you learn to survive that will be helpful on the bench. So
thank you.
Best of luck to you. Jason.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question, what judge or what types of judges would you model yourself after on the bench?
That's an interesting question because I've been in front of a number of them in the state of Rhode Island. Most recently, I would say, I have a case that Judge Leach has mediated and brought us almost to the finish line. I think we're going to get across the finish line. But if it wasn't for the way he mediated with the parties, it was an emotional issue, and he was able to get the emotion out of the parties a little bit and get them to agree on certain things, and hopefully we're able to get it across the finish line.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm used to being last. Zelensky, it's fine. Class of 529, third to last. Crickets were chirping. This is nothing. This is my husband, Greg Marks.
How are you? I do sometimes switch the order just to allow the, I used to be a G and then I'm
Yeah.
a T now, so I have a lot more sympathy towards like the end of the alphabet.
Yeah, I'm fine. 529, third to last. My dad tells me the crickets were chirping when I got my diploma. So in law school it was a little bit better. You know, I was second to last of like, I think 200. So, but it's fine.
Welcome. Our final interviewee this evening is Anya Zelensky. Would you like to make an opening statement?
Sure, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's been a long day for you. Full confession, I'm usually in my PJs by now also. I wanted to take the time to say thank you for this amazing opportunity. I will not belabor this, but who would have thought? Who would have thought that I would be sitting here being able to have a conversation with you and having the privilege of answering your questions so you get to know me? Who would have thought that I would be sitting here 42 years after coming to the United States? I could tell you only two people thought that, my parents. They wanted to be here tonight, but unfortunately due to their physical disabilities, they couldn't. But I've been instructed by my dad to tell you he's wearing a suit and tie that probably doesn't match. It's the same one because he knows how much of an honor this is for me to even be here. My story does not begin at 150 South Main Street at the Attorney General's office. It started at 1 Staropolonska Street in Poland when I came here when I was 6. And then it weaved through to Clifton, New Jersey, where I grew up in Little Poland, where I did have the Polish butcher, the Polish mechanic, and a community that raised me. And then I landed at the University of Rhode Island, go Rhodey, avid Rhodey fan. And I know I say that, but there's probably PC fans in here. Where I took up every opportunity while on scholarship to make myself aware of what this country gave me, and including working for the Student Senate, which brought me to law school, where I got my first taste as to public advocacy through the Public Defender's Office, the Prosecutor's Clinic, U.S. Attorney's Office, a fellowship with the CPCS in New Bedford, and then ultimately a career in Rhode Island. I stand on the shoulders of my parents, and I've never wasted their opportunities that they worked so hard and sacrificed for, taking jobs that were white collar and turning them into blue collar, going from a teacher to a florist to a maid, my dad being an engineer to being a fabulous cabinet maker. What he taught me, what she taught me was whatever you do, do it well and do it with pride. So I stand on their shoulders today, and I'm not going to waste this opportunity for you to get to know me. So with that, I welcome any questions, but I will not waste this opportunity, like I said, for you to get to know me and the privilege of being in this seat. So I will take whatever questions you have for me.
Thank you. So I have explained to all of the candidates this evening that I typically do not ask questions of the candidates, but I've been contacted by several members of the public and asked to ask the same question of all the candidates. So I have, and now I will ask it of you. And that question is whether personally and professionally you support the rights of people to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the rights of the LGBTQIA community to marriage, health care, and bodily autonomy equal to all other Rhode Islanders.
Without hesitation, I can say yes for a multitude of reasons, but in a capacity personally, I do believe in that. I have never found myself to be anything but an advocate for whatever walks of life people are based on their religion, sex, origin, nationality, sexuality, gender identity. Professionally, as a judge candidate, you're a blank canvas. You judge a person who walks into the room based on not what they look like or who they are, but based on the case. So without hesitation, I think that's a pretty easy question for me to answer. And hopefully, it's not the easiest question tonight, but I could say that unequivocally, yes.
Thank you, Tom.
I don't have any questions, but nice application. That's great.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Casali. I appreciate that.
Karen?
Good evening. I am Karen Flynn, and I am a commissioner, and I'm joining you tonight on Teams.
Good evening.
You're welcome. No questions.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn, for your presence.
You're welcome.
Jim?
Anya, your skill set in court is absolutely fabulous. You are one of the finest attorney generals that are now in that division. There's no question about it. I don't have any questions for you. Your application is great, your presentation is great. And no matter what happens here, do not stop coming back before us if you have to try and try and try. Because I think eventually you will achieve all your objectives. Whatever goals you set in your life, I think you're going to achieve all of them.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you. We could repeat that over and over down the line if you wish, because this would be the thing. I appreciate that, Mr. Laporte.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Lamel?
Good evening, and I just want to say your packet is wonderful. Fantastic job. You have your wealth of knowledge for what you've done is tremendous. And I just want to say thank you very much for applying. And I think that you will make a fantastic person to serve the bench. So thank you very much for the application and for your time, but I do not have any further questions.
Gina?
Welcome. I love your enthusiasm, and you're very authentic, and other than your obvious professional experience that clearly makes you qualified. I will ask a question. What do you think is the most important quality you have that will serve you on the bench?
What you see is what you get. But mostly, the thing that it distinguishes me from the other candidates, and look, it is full circle. The boss I used to fear is out there and is a candidate, Alan Goulart, okay? He was the first one I told I was pregnant with my son, and I shook in his office because I was a young prosecutor. I've trained some of the prosecutors that are out there and the great candidates. But I will be frank, no one knows what it feels like to be in this chair from what I came from. I grew up 30 minutes from Auschwitz. My grandmother hid a family at a young age during World War II. My family lived behind the Iron Curtain. I didn't see my family, my parents collectively, for 3 years. We dreamed of coming to the United States where individual freedoms were protected and foundations like the judiciary and citizenship was valued. No one, respectively of everybody out there, knows how much of a privilege this is from my take. When I would be privileged enough to take that oath, I view it as where my parents came from, what they gave up, but what it really means. I became a citizen during the University of Rhode Island days. I had walking pneumonia, and I made sure to make that appointment. My dad, even though he emigrated first, they lost his application twice. He was last, and we still laugh about that to this day. My point being is, what you see is who I am. There's no faking anything. I'm genuinely proud to be here. Anything above and beyond that happens from this day forward today in September, when I'm back for an interview for Judge Procaccini's, is an icing on the cake. I've already do that. That does not mean that I don't want to be in a position where I be of more service behind the bench. I do. But what makes me distinguishable is that I appreciate it on a different level of what that position means. By virtue of the fact that I've experienced when it doesn't happen, when you don't have those rights, when you have to leave and build a new life. So if you're asking what distinguishes me, I'm genuine. And I don't think that will change regardless if I'm wearing a black robe, because I remember what it was like to be on the other side.
I thank you for that answer. I appreciate it. I have no, I cannot say I understand your experience, of course, because I didn't live it. But I will tell you that as a second generation American, I'm still very aware of how fortunate I am to be an American. So I appreciate your comments and how that forms your thinking.
Jason?
Very pleased to see you here tonight. I'm very pleased to read your application. So district court or superior court? Which is the better thing for you?
Better for me or better for thing if you ask the judges. So I applied to district court because the position was open, obviously, and unbeknownst, and there were whispers that Judge Procaccini was putting in, who I consider one of my mentors. And then he actually pulled the Band-Aid and he did it. It's not so much better, okay? Respectively, it's wherever I can serve and make a difference. I think both. I know I don't, without hesitation, my quiet confidence, I could do it on day one in district court and in superior court. Now, I think it would be disingenuous of me to say that there's not anything for me to learn. Of course there's something for me to learn. Being on the other side of the bench is new to someone. But but I'm humble enough to know what I don't know and when to ask and when to learn. And I think the best judges I've been in front of, Judge Procaccini, Judge Savage, Judge McAtee, like Judge Ganella in district court, even Judge Senarini, they were willing to know what they didn't know and admit when they didn't know. So it's not so much which is better. I would be very appreciative but also humbled if I was even in consideration for both. I'm here because you gave me that opportunity. How can I not be grateful for that? I am the last person, even my husband might agree, to say that I would never take anything for granted. I know I could do both jobs. I know I could be of service in both jobs. I know I could offer something because of my experience and my trial experience, litigation experience, but also because of my energy and my stamina, and for the long run. I think passing the baton to another person. So it's not so much better, it's just where would I fit and where could I be of service? I hope that answers that.
Thank you. Christian? And
Hi, Christian. How are you?
We've known each other for 20 years now. We worked together for 10. We started at the same time at the AG's office, so I get to see you try cases, some of the worst cases, some of the hardest cases. How will your experience as a criminal prosecutor handling those very difficult cases with potential children as victims, how will that shape your perspective as a judge of the district court bench?
The same way I think I approach my personal life. You never know what someone goes home to. You never know what's behind closed doors. In the 20 years, the 2 decades that I've been a prosecutor, and I have seen the worst of humanity. I've seen things that the public could not even imagine. But in those worst, I've also seen the best of humanity. I've also seen the first responders like my husband, who's a lieutenant on Cranston Fire, who I've had to recuse myself on certain cases because he's been involved. My whole family is about out of service. My youngest is a junior firefighter and going to Virginia Tech pre-med and going to be a junior firefighter down there. You don't know what people go home to. You don't know what they deal with. And I say that knowing and seeing the ugliness that I have seen, but also seeing the best in response. As a judge and as a person, I keep that in mind in terms of how I treat the staff, the sheriff, the clerk, the steno, the respondent, the defendant, the prosecutor, the solicitor, whoever is in my courtroom. That doesn't mean, God bless you, that doesn't mean you don't hold them to the standard of an attorney, of a defense attorney, prosecutor, or anything else. But I see the bigger picture of it. What we do is very important. What a judge does is very important. The tone he or she sets controls the courtroom. I've seen and I've been very mentored by the fact that kindness does not equate to weakness. You don't have to raise your voice to make a point. I have been, there have been many times where a judge got his point across to me without ever raising his voice. You don't have to be the loudest to make the biggest impact. I will also say that the complexity of the cases I have done and I will continue to do is the best training ground. It's not having a 1,000-piece puzzle, it's having a 10 million piece puzzle and the patience to do that. Some cases, I know the public may see Law and Order and wraps up in an hour. It's usually when I pick a jury, I talk about the alphabet soup, who watches SVU and CIS. Well, our jobs don't. So I think the good I see in the worst of times puts it in perspective to me to be able to set a different tone in the courtroom that I've seen a lot of judges that I look up to, like Judge Stern, who after a case is handed over to the jury, made an impression on me is he stands up. All rise for the jury, he includes himself and he stands up. Judge Procaccini, through the kindness of coming down the bench talking to a victim after a sentencing. The late Judge Ganella, knowing that situation in district court and a bail hearing is very tense, and he broke it up with a joke, the levity. Judge Savage, who commanded jury selection to the T and made that jury realize how important it was. And all of a sudden, that one person who didn't want to be there for jury selection because he was missing something, a baseball game, knew it was a service. It's taking a little bit from all of them. So I hope that answers your question, Christian.
Yes.
But thank you for making me feel old that it's been 20-something years. And you met Jackson, and now he's going to Virginia Tech. So.
Crazy. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And hopefully you'll get to bed a little bit earlier than last. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.